Hi Blender artists and welcome to Blender TC. In today's tutorial we're going to make a simple plane which we're going to actually place a raindrop on, or several raindrops, just to actually give you that water effect. So let's just delete our cube object. The object I'm going to add in is our raindrop. So our raindrop's going to be a icosphere. Add mesh icosphere. We're going to take this simplicity right down to the bottom of our subdivisions. That is found behind this tab, and if we go into edit mode by pressing the tab key, I'm going to go on point select. You've got point select, line select and face select. Select the point there. Go to proportional editing, which of course is this target. And I'm just going to move this up. Move in the blue line and pull it right up. Now the reason we're doing this is making our raindrop. So press the tab key to get out of edit mode, and G and Z just to move it down off our shop, and that is our raindrop. So I'm just going to call it raindrop. Whoops, spelled that wrong. Right, so we've got our raindrop. I'm just going to add in the water plane. So add a mesh plane, scale it up by just pressing the S key, and I'm just going to move that slightly down, G and Z, like that. Rotate it around the Z, just do an S, and let's see, scale at the X. And we've got our plane, which is going to be our water plane. And what we're going to do now is actually duplicate our water plane. So right click and duplicate object. Press the enter key to fix. Just move it up in the air by G and Z, just for quickness. So we've got a plane, which is going to be our water, WATR. And of course, whoops, the bottom plane is going to be, that's our water plane. And of course, this plane up here will be our cloud plane. So I'm just going to put cloud because of course rain drops from clouds. So we've made our raindrop, our water plane and our cloud. Right, if we were to actually drop our raindrop onto this plane now, which we'll just actually do, so select our cloud, add a particle, plus on the particles. We've now changed this into an emitter, and what we're going to do is we're just going to actually see how the simulation works. As you can see, I'm just going to change that from 1000 to 100 just to make it a little bit simpler. I'm going to take the end frame into the past, minus 100, just so the rain actually starts, so it looks like it started raining straight away. So if you look, I'll take it right back to frame 1. As you can see, the raindrops are already in the air. And I'm just going to actually have the raindrops finish at 200. In fact, I'll make them finish at 150. So the rain will appear to fall. And then when it gets to about 150 here, it'll actually stop coming from the cloud. There it goes, stops coming from the cloud, which will give it a little space. And it'll make a circular animation because the raindrops will appear, disappear, and then reappear again. Right. So press the spacebar to stop this. In the renders tabs on Eevee, I've got ambient occlusion, bloom, screen space reflections enabled, and motion blur, just so you know what's been enabled. Right, so what we're going to do is now make the rain fall from this plane. So go into the plane, back into the particle, and what we've got here is we've got render. Right, render is where you can actually assign an object to this. So we're going to assign the object, and the object we want to assign is a raindrop. So object, and hit this little thing here, and we can select the raindrop, and as you can see, it appears in there, and it also appears in our scene. So we've now got our raindrops falling from our cloud and onto our plane. What we'll do is we're going to actually now add in a physics property to this, and we're going to add a thing called dynamic paint. Add in a brush. This is going to be our brush object, and of course our raindrops are our paint. So add the brush like that, and what we're going to actually do is select the brush, which of course is our particle system. And I don't know, I have to select it twice, but you just have to make this simulation work. I'm so sure there's a reason, and if you know, leave a comment just to let me know, because I don't know. Can't know everything. So what we've got now is we've got our water plane, and I'm just going to actually change that to a dynamic paint, and we're going to add in a canvas this time. Right, instead of paint, we want this to be water or waves. So I hit the waves, and if I let this go now, what you can see is nothing happens. And the reason nothing happens is because there's not enough detail on our plane, and the other thing is the objects are just too small to actually affect our plane. So go back up to the cloud, go back into physics. In this here we can actually change our scale, as you can see, of our raindrops and the randomness of our scale. So I'm just going to shrink this down until it's something that I like the look of, and as you can see this just drops down onto our plane, but nothing seems to happen. And the reason nothing happens is because we haven't got enough detail on our plane. So let's add some detail. So press the tab key, right click, subdivide. I'm just going to subdivide this by 50 myself. So you can do this by opening this tab and changing this to 50. As you can see, that's subdivided by 50. Let's just add in our HDRI. In fact, we've already got our HDRI working in the background, but what we're going to do is actually select it for real, select our environmental texture, which turns this purple, and we're just going to actually go into Blender HDRIs, which are found on Blender Program Files, Blender Foundation, Blender 3.3, because that's what I'm using, 3.3, Data Files, Studio, and World. I'll just leave that up for a couple of more seconds so you can actually pause the screen and of course get the information. So I'm just going to actually select the forest, and as you can see our rain there is in our forest. I'm just going to change this to a water object, so new object, and we're just going to actually select a simple glass, take the roughness down a bit so it reflects the world, and voila. Oops, as you can see it's a bit distorted, so I'm just going to shade smooth. Look again, that's quite good. Still a bit of distortion from it, so what I'm going to do is quickly add in a subdivision modifier onto our plane. So subdivide surface, make it 2 in the render, or 3 in the render, and 3 in real life, and we'll see it should slow down our animation, but voila. And as you can see the rain doesn't look real. Use the same material as our water plane. So now we've got a bit of refraction, as you can see if we zoom in on one of our water planes, and you can see that gives us quite a good picture there. And if we back out and press play, as you can see we've got quite a good water simulation. And look through our camera, hide the emitter. So we're going to the physics properties, and what we can do is hide the emitter so our cloud vanishes completely from our scene in our render. And voila, that's it. A simple way to create water, and I'm sure I'll do another tutorial shortly just showing you some of the other effects that you can actually achieve with this in Blender. Last but not least, I'm just going to remove my 3-point lighting because it's showing up on there. So delete, 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 and last but not least, I'm just going to go into my water plane and I'm just going to have a little mess about with the roughness, take it right down to 0. I think I've done shade smooth already, and if your computer can actually take it, what you can do is actually take the subdivision modifier up even higher. But because I've actually changed this to 5 in our render, when we render that, that will be a much better effect, and I'll just quickly render that and just show you what the effect would be and what it'd look like in the real world. So just to change the depth of field, just to fade out the background slightly by changing the f-stop. Thank you for joining me on Blender TC, and if you enjoyed the tutorial, subscribe to my channel and don't forget to hit the bell. Bye for now.